Monday, July 2nd. I'm Scott.
I'm Rim.
And this is Geeknights. Tonight, we discuss democracy on tech news sites like Digg and Slashdot.
Let's do this.
So Rim's got this fancy new computer.
I do.
It's finally working enough, I guess.
I've been playing Half-Life 2 quite a bit, though now I want to hold out playing Half-Life 2 fully and all the way until I have the widescreen monitor to go with it.
That's a good call.
Yeah.
It's a good call because it gets pretty intense. But at least now you recognize the amazingness that is Half-Life 2.
Oh, I recognized all along. I've wanted to play Half-Life 2 since it came out.
I don't know. You used to always diss these single-player FPSs as if they were not worth your time.
Well, you know what? Other than Half-Life and Half-Life 2 and the possible exception of Doom 2, though only due to nostalgia and the fact that it's one of the only games like that, they aren't. They're terrible.
Oh, I think that System Shock, the game, like the great game we haven't played, I have hopes for that, because people won't shut up about it.
We'll see, because we've had a lot of times in the past where people wouldn't shut up about a game, and we finally just say, all right, we'll play it, and a lot of times they're not as great as they were.
This is too universally acclaimed for me to dismiss it like that.
Nah, yeah, you know what? World of Warcraft is pretty universally, yeah.
No, and it's not universally acclaimed. I haven't seen any, there's just as many people saying WoW sucks as people saying WoW is awesome. In fact, a lot of you who play WoW say WoW sucks. But System Shock 2 is universally revered. I've never seen anyone say it sucked.
Anyway, so I imagine you brought up my computer for a reason.
Yes. So my computer, not so awesome. I mean, it's not bad. It's not bad. I only bought it 2 or 3 years ago.
It's still good. It's still good.
It is still good. I mean, it's got a XP 2500 plus processor, which isn't so fast, but it's 1.8 gigahertz. It's fast enough. It's got, enough hard drives. I just filled up one of them, so I could just buy another one and I'll be all set. Big deal. It's got a GeForce FX 5900, which, while not exactly, the fastest card in the universe, they're only on the 7900 or 8000 something now. I'm not too far behind. I can still play Half-Life 2 just fine. So that's not a problem. But I only got 512 megs of RAM.
Wow.
And
even on my old computer, I had a gig.
And even when I'm using Linux and just browsing the web or listening to music, it kind of fills up and it's not enough.
Now think about that. Used to be just fine with 16.
Oh, yeah. 16 megs of RAM, I can play MechWarrior 2.
Now, 2 gigs for me. I use it all.
Yeah, so I had to decide, because my computer takes DDR400 RAM, which is sort of old and busted. And it only takes 2 sticks of DDR400. If I want to use 3 sticks, I have to use DDR333, which is significantly slower. So I already have 2 sticks that are 256 megabytes each. So if I want to replace the RAM, I've got to buy 2 new sticks and get rid of the 2 old sticks. Which there's nothing wrong with the 2 old sticks. They work fine. They're actually pretty high quality. So I had to decide, am I going to buy 2 new sticks? Or am I going to buy a new computer when, Half-Life 2 Episode 2 and Portal and all those things come out?
Now, you buying a new computer would have completely cocked up the system, because Scott and I have a tradition, for as long as we've known each other, of at any given point, one of us has a computer that's very old, and one of us has recently bought a brand new super fast computer.
Yeah, so
I got to RIT with, the machine of the gods, and Scott had his old Pentium 3. Then, when my computer was still the machine of the gods, but much weaker gods, maybe not the best gods anymore, Scott bought a new computer that was 8 times faster than mine.
And then Rim bought this.
Yep.
But I have a laptop, but that laptop isn't really so fast either.
But if you buy a computer, it'll be the same speed as mine, because you know about technology. You'd buy the same processor. Maybe you'd buy the 50 instead of the 00. But
I probably would, actually.
Yeah, but that's the only difference.
Yeah.
We'd buy the same basic computer.
The point is, I decided it was a tough decision whether to upgrade and get more RAM and another hard drive or to just wait it out. And I said, you know what? I'm going to buy the RAM. And I bought it today. I bought the cheapest possible 2 gigs of RAM on Newegg that would go in my computer. And I hope they work.
So, what shady brand did you end up picking?
That's a good question. Let me look at my Gmail.
You don't even remember?
It was the shadiest brand available for the type of and size of RAM I needed.
Yeah, it's tough because some of the things that look shady are actually fairly legit nowadays.
Yeah, it is very difficult to tell.
And the people that used to be legit went into the monster cable direction instead of into the quality direction.
Yeah, I hate that stuff. It's pretty sucky.
I've already lost interest.
I know. I just got like 4 Newegg emails and I can't figure out which one.
Whatever, you probably don't want to give them any publicity anyway.
It's G-Skill RAM.
Oh, they're not so bad.
Yeah, but it wasn't like the ones with the fancy heat spreaders. It was just 2 bare sticks.
Wow.
Yeah. We'll see how it works. If it doesn't work, I'll just return it and give up and keep the hard drive.
So last year, around this time, we did a show where we had 2 friends of ours, who are also podcasters, do our show. They were guest hosts on our show while we were out of town. It was Richard and Allison from simplysyndicated.com, Movies You Should See. You should check them out. They're one of my favorite podcasts, and they're awesome. The
Yep.
2 of them specifically.
Yeah, but basically, we go away.
The rest of you all suck.
Every year after Otakon, we go to a undisclosed vacation spot
Yes,
for an entire week.
It's kind of like the South Park
It's
Writers
not really
Retreat.
undisclosed. We've said it many times before.
Yes.
I'm just being silly.
It's the Front Row Crew Writers Retreat.
Yes. So, while we're away on this vacation, far away, hiding, we can't really make shows, and we don't really feel like making a bunch of shows in advance. So, last year, we said, all right, anyone who wants to make an episode of Geeknights, we don't want you to make an episode of your show. We want you to make an episode of Geeknights for one of the days of the week, and then we'll put it up instead of the Geeknights by us. And last year, we got 1 taker on our offer.
However,
And we
the
made
1
3
taker happened to be awesome.
It was 1 high-quality taker, and then we decided we had to fill in the other 3 days, so we made shit 2-minute episodes.
I remember our Thursday was 45 seconds long.
I think that was
If
the
that-
Thursday before. That wasn't the Thursday during.
It's still part of the week.
It is part of the, yeah. But, yeah, so this year, we want more than 1 taker. We've already got 1 taker, I think.
Yes, so far, the people we've got lined up to do the anime night are pretty hardcore, and I think you're going to like them. I think their style really jives well with the Geek Nights format.
Yeah, so if you want to make a Monday show, a Tuesday show, or a Thursday show of Geek Nights, and you just want to do that, then email us or something.
However, I'll point out that just because you email us, don't feel bad if we say no, because there are
Well,
some...
I mean, you're free to make a show.
Yeah,
We're
but-
just not going to put it on our site in our feed if we don't like it.
There are some undisclosed requirements, many of them having to do with intelligence and audio quality and technical aptitude.
Yes, so if you fail to meet the requirements, I mean, anyone is free to just make Geek Nights episodes and remixes all you want. Go nuts. That'll only make us more popular.
Yeah.
As if you make a really good, funny remix and it's on the YouTube or something. But for us to select it as to be an actual, real episode of Geek Nights, it's got to be something special. But don't let that scare you into not asking. Ask, because only 1 person did it last year. So maybe no one will do it, and you'll be the only one, and we'll let you do it anyway. Even if you suck.
We'll see.
We'll see.
It depends a lot on who you are and how we're feeling.
Yes.
Because
But don't hesitate to ask.
I also enjoy just making the 30-second episode and putting it up.
Yeah, those are fun too.
But anyway, in the news, I thought this was kind of interesting. I think it bodes somewhat poorly for Universal. They've decided not to renew, according to Slashdot, their contract with Apple for their content on iTunes.
Have they actually? I saw a rumor that was like Universal might not renew or Universal threatening to not renew. Did they actually officially not renew?
The last I saw was, to quote Slashdot, it appears for the moment that Universal will not renew.
Oh, well, that's the end of their music.
Pretty much. I don't know what they're thinking. CD sales are down. iTunes is much of the music market nowadays. And how else are they going to sell their
It's
music?
second after Walmart, so they're probably still going to rock Walmart, so they'll make their money there. But that's
For
going
now.
down. It's going down constantly.
It's not
that
going to
profit.
last.
Yeah. Basically, what this amounts to is, imagine if there was the Pony Express, and then they invented the truck. So there are 3 mail companies, and all of them upgrade to trucks, right? And then one of them says, "Fuck these trucks, I'm going back to ponies." That's what this is. It's kind of obvious what's going to happen. All the ponies are going to get run over by the trucks.
Well, what they might be thinking is they're trying to exert pressure on Apple because, you see, the real point of contention, other than DRM, is the fact that Apple will not let people charge more for their music. They have flat
And
pricing.
$1. Yep, it's
and they-
$1, period.
You can charge less, but you can't charge
Well,
more.
I think you get a discount if you buy the whole album.
No, I mean, you can say your music costs less than $1.
Okay, I don't know exactly.
But you can't say it costs more than $1.
Well, actually, I think the non-DRM music costs slightly more than $1.
Well, yeah, but that's still, so even then, it's a flat price. They can't change it.
Yep.
And they don't like this because they want to charge you a lot more money. They feel that a song is worth more than 99 cents.
They also feel that, because a song is brand new from like Britney Spears, it should be more money than an old cruddy song no one likes.
I really wonder what they're thinking, because Apple, I know, couldn't care less. They have the music industry by the balls.
I'm beginning to feel that, because we saw that record company guy at RIT. Remember him?
Oh, the guy who wouldn't answer my question because I happened to be wearing a Skull and Bones?
Yeah, that guy. That guy, he wasn't totally aware of, everything that we know, but he wasn't completely stupid either, and I got to assume that the other record executives are at least as smart as he is, maybe a little dumber, maybe a little smarter, right? I'm beginning to think that at this point, the record executives realize that there is absolutely no way to save their sinking ship, and they're just trying to get as many nice paintings and statues and jewels and fineries off of that ship before it sinks.
See, now, I do want to point out, though, I don't think that the idea of selling music is the sinking ship. I think the sinking ship is the current model of the music industry, which is get a band, make them super, super popular, and sell 1 million of their CDs, as opposed to the future, which is probably the long tail of many, many, many bands, each doing a little bit of music and making a little bit of money.
Yes, I think the days of... Because I think the one problem is that you had... With music, ever since Elvis, the music industry worked in such a way that someone had to become a star, a rock star who had a lot of money and glamour and fame and huge arena concerts and all that jazz. And I think from now on, still some of those people will emerge, if someone gets stupidly popular all across the internets or whatever. But for the most part, there are going to be musicians who are popular enough, and they're going to make the same amount of money that you and I make. They're going to make a decent living just doing normal business.
Well, the only reason the music industry ended up being the way it was simply that before the internet, you couldn't get played on the radio, you couldn't get gigs, you couldn't do anything more than play for like the county fair in Peoria.
Yep.
Unless you went to the music industry and said, I'm going to sign away all my rights, make me famous. Nowadays, we have YouTube. If a band's good enough and they put themselves on the internet, they'll become popular.
So what we had before, actually, was a system in which you were either super rich and famous or you weren't cutting it as a musician alone. You had to do something else on the side, maybe a radio DJ or maybe working at McDonald's, right?
A radio DJ, those still exist.
Yeah. Well, I'm talking about back in the day.
Ah.
And then nowadays we're moving towards a system in which pretty much most of the musicians if you're a good of course, if you suck, you're not going to make anything. That's still going to be the case. But if you're okay and you have talent, you're probably, and you're not stupid, you're probably going to make enough money to live from your music. And very few people, much fewer than, back in the 70s or 80s, will get stupidly rich just from being a musician. And it's kind of funny because it's basically a combination of capitalism and technology that make the playing field even. Whereas normally you would think that communism or socialism would do something like that.
Now, you see, what we have here with Universal, I'm going on a different tack with this now,
All right.
is basically a real-world example of the prisoner's dilemma. Because Universal has said, all right, we're defecting from Apple. If every other, or at least if a few of the other labels decided, you know what, we're with you, we're defecting too, then they all win collectively, and Apple loses. However, there's a choice now. If all the other labels say, you know what, we're going to let Universal twist in the wind a little bit, then basically they defect against Universal, and they all stand to gain because they look better for the tech crowd. They now have more presence in the market because they're still on iTunes. They're still on Apple's good side. They can even run the PR machine to sell the fact that they're not evil like Universal and they're not backwards like Universal.
Well, it all started with the original prisoner's dilemma of there's a bunch of record companies. Who's going to sign with Apple?
Yup.
And one person signed, and then they all went. And now one person leaves. Will they all leave? I don't know.
I'm going to say no.
Yes.
It is my opinion that the rest of the music industry is at least smart enough to realize that without Apple, they're going to have a lot of trouble.
Yeah, and I think any record company that's planning to stay with Apple is more than happy to let the others leave.
Yep, because that means more market share, more promotion.
They would like nothing more than to be the only record label on Apple. All right. Speaking of selling musics, you may or may not know of a website. It's pretty popular that everyone who's on the internet probably knows about it, called All of MP3.
It was one of the great old, I don't know, I want to call it Soviet, but it's not really. It's just one of those shady Russian or Paknarian deals that was going around back in the day.
Well, it was going around for a long time. It wasn't too old. It's only a few years old. But
That's back in the day as far as the internet's
premise
concerned.
of this site was that in Russia, the laws about copyright and royalties for music and stuff like that are different from the U.S. And due to a legal loophole, they were able to make a website where you could download pretty much any music you wanted that was, popular record company music, because they didn't have rare indie musics there so much. And you could pay a price like 25 cents for a song, and you could get any format at any bit rate you wanted. And of course, they would charge like by how much. So if you got like a FLAC of like a half-hour song, that would cost a lot more than a shitty MP3 of a 2-minute song.
Of course, a lot more. It was still nothing.
It was still like less than $1 for most songs. Like albums were less than $5. And the problem with all of MP3, of course, is that all the other countries, Russia didn't like it so much, but there's nothing they could do about it, really. And, Russia wanted to join the World Trade Organization, but they couldn't because the site was still there. And, you can't join the World Trade Organization if your country is doing things that are piracy related.
Granted, it wasn't just all of MP3 that was keeping Russia out of the
No,
WTO.
it wasn't. But it was a factor. It was something that the politicians involved in that sort of thing knew about and brought up.
It was just the fact that things like this existed and Russia wasn't doing anything about it, because there were a lot of shady outfits very similar to this in Russia.
Oh, yeah, all over the place. But this is one that was of note. It was probably the biggest one, actually. Well, today, Russia finally shut down all of MP3 permanently, forever. It's gone. The end.
Didn't that happen before?
Well, it's been shut down temporarily at times, but it's always crawled back from the dead. And now it is finally all the way gone.
Maybe it will reappear in Ukraine.
Well, no, it will not reappear in Ukraine. However, we don't know how, we don't know. I guess it could just reappear. That might happen. But it seems, at least it seems to me, that they've sealed the legal loophole that locks all of MP3 away. However, the same people who made all of MP3 have made another site called MP3 Sparks. It's launched by the same people. It's not illegal under Russian law because they use a different licensing model and a different loophole. And you can still get albums for like $3.
Outstanding.
So everyone change your bookmarks from allofmp3.com to mp3sparks.com. And
I hadn't read the news, so I didn't realize that part.
Yeah. Actually, there's an old story, like in the article I'm reading about all of MP3 being shut down. There's actually a story that is kind of old, but I didn't know about it until just now. Apparently, there's a Danish internet service provider called Perspective. And a while ago, they decided to block all of MP3 for their users. So no one using Perspective as their ISP could get to allofmp3.com.
Wow, I wonder why they would do that. I can see almost no incentive unless a government was leaning on you.
Right. Well, the Pirate Bay, working together with Pirate Bayran.
Did they give people access to it through the Pirate Bay?
No. That would have been one thing I would have thought, is that they would proxy, the all of MP3.
Yeah.
Instead, they blocked all of Perspective's customers from getting to the Pirate Bay. So basically, the Pirate Bay, if you went to Perspective, it wouldn't let you in. Not long after that, Perspective opened up all of MP3 again.
I wonder why.
Yeah, think about that. Pirate Bay is that powerful with their BitTorrents of illegalness that they can force an ISP in a different country.
What are you talking about? The Pirate Bay does not violate any laws.
It doesn't, which is awesome. And think about it. It was like an act of piracy. They sailed up with their pirate boat, and they menaced this Danish internet service provider. And rather than be boarded and skewered and have all their loots taken, they gave in to the pirates.
I gotta say, regardless of whether or not you agree or disagree with the motivation and the modus operandi of the Pirates Bay, you have to respect the testicular fortitude they have shown to us.
They're my kind of people.
This is Sparta!
That's not good.
We were talking about this a little while ago, but it surprises us the sheer number of Sparta remixes of things on the internet.
What is it about that 300 movie that makes it so remixable? I mean, usually I'll be like, oh, that is so remixable, right? But, like, take, for example, Snakes on a Plane. The idea of Snakes on a Plane was super remixable, but the actual movie, not so much. For some reason, 300, I don't know why. What about it?
I think...
Why is it out of control?
Here's my hypothesis. I believe that the reason Sparta is so remixable, aside from the homoeroticism and the fighting and the violence and the silly lines yelled at each other and all that business, the guy's face is one of those Lord of the Rings on the go faces. And it has been used in the Lord of the Rings on the go face humor way for great effect.
I suppose so, but I definitely did not see this fad coming of remixing the Sparta.
I think it just comes down to people yelled in Sparta a lot. Well, in 300, I guess they yelled in Sparta a lot too, but there's a lot of yelling. And it seems like whenever someone yells in a thing and you want to remix it, what better thing to have them yell than something from Sparta?
Sparta!
Sparta! This is madness.
So what's your thing of the day? I imagine it's some sort of
Well,
Sparta remix.
We came upon this somewhat by accident. We were watching Dramatic Look for some reason. I think you all know what Dramatic... Dun! And then we saw Dramatic Look Remix, which was a short remix that was basically that plus a lightsaber.
It was high quality.
And then we noticed in the related a Sparta remix that was actually quite long. And while this is probably only going to be funny once, I recommend that you watch it all the way through. And there's a point at which it becomes Lord of the Rings on the go, and I could not help but laugh out loud uncontrollably when that happened.
Yeah, this is a pretty good one.
And then
we
the
tried
panda...
to find more of these, and the other ones kind of sucked. So this is the best one you're going to get on YouTube for now. Someone might top it soon.
It wouldn't be that hard to top it. We could top it if we weren't
could,
doing
but
a show.
We don't have video editing action or skills.
The real issue here is I noticed that I found two, not one, but two other videos on YouTube that were actually the same video as this with a different song, and like they cut off the end or the front. And I don't get that. It's like they remixed the remix.
But remixing a remix isn't so bad.
But they did
the problem is
in such a
is that
plagiaristic crap way.
They barely changed it. It's like some guy edited all this video together, and some guy just changed the song and put it back up.
Plus, even this, I got to admit, I don't get why for several seconds we just see Phoenix Wright standing there.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't understand that either.
And then, I really don't get why they showed the clip of Batman running away from Phantos completely unedited and in its entirety.
Yeah, I don't understand that either.
Now, if you were to replace the Phantos head with the Sparta head, that would have been great. Or if he'd been carrying the Sparta head running away from a Sparta head, or if Batman had a Sparta head.
I would have just had the what's the groundhog thing? The prairie dog?
Yeah.
I would have had it do the the look with some sort of Batman added to it.
Uh-huh.
Like, I don't know.
I don't know. I just would have taken that GIF and added Sparta to it. I don't know why they didn't.
Yeah.
I don't get. There's the middle bit of this. There's no way you won't laugh at it with the little go-kart thing and then the panda Jack in the Box.
Yeah. They replaced the sneezing panda with a Jack in the Box
panda. Or the football players at the end. I think that's when I really lost it.
Yeah, they're all right too. All right, so that's a funny video right there. But I think I've realized something. You know how we often use Japanese television as things of the day? We often use YouTube and Digg videos as things of the day.
Well, Japanese television is awesome, and YouTube is the closest thing we have in America to that.
That's what I just realized recently, is that Japanese television, apparently, I guess forever, I don't know when it started, is basically the same stuff that's on YouTube. It's just like a bunch of thrown together hilarity.
Yeah, the worst part is it's shows, that like game shows that are set up to create those situations. It's like they do it on purpose.
Yeah, it's like if YouTubers had enough money and they could make a living from just making funny videos, they'd basically just recreate Japanese television.
I think so.
So here's something funny from Japanese television that I thought was kind of cool. There's a guy in a zoo, and there's a gorilla in the cage. And the guy's got a hose, and I think it's his job to clean the gorilla cage / the gorilla. So he sprays the water at the gorilla and the cage. And the gorilla's in a cage. It's not going to hurt him. It's not a mean gorilla either. So there's no blood and gore in this one. And the gorilla realizes that the floor It's getting all slippery from the water. So the gorilla starts to do some funny stuff with the slippery floor. And just watch the video. It is the entertaining a couple times.
Yes. I like videos like this when it shows a monkey or an ape or a gorilla or any sort of animal exhibiting that sort of, I don't know, intelligence and love of fun. Bum, bum, bum. Yeah, because that's still relevant. Right. So instead of talking about how computers work, because we've been doing that a lot lately, we realized something that, a lot of people talk about this, but I've been thinking about it more lately. Partly because I go to both sites about equally, and both of them are starting to annoy me for the same amount, but in different directions. I really think we just have to talk about Digg and Slashdot and internet democracy versus push content and all that sort of business.
All right, well, to introduce, basically, you have websites on the internet that take
There's websites on the internet?
Yes, they're websites on the internet. And they have news on them. Some sites make news, like CNN. Well, I guess... no,
CNN.
UPI and Associated Press make news. Local newspapers also sometimes make shitty local news, but there are places that make news. Also, like, sometimes, Engadget makes news. Like, not so much as, here is a fact we researched, but here is an editorial type news, something we, reviewing a product that is new, something they wrote, original content. And then there are sites which take the content around the internet and sort of list it. So that way you don't have to go to 100 different sites to get all these newses. One site collects all the best newses for you, custom, similar to your interests, and you can just go to one place, one-stop shop. And it used to be, back in the day, one of the first places that did this in a good way was Slashdot. And Slashdot would go around, and I think the slogan of Slashdot still is news for nerds, stuff that matters, right? And they would go around finding news that nerds cared about, that geeks cared about, that nerds and geeks think matters.
There wasn't a third kind.
Yep.
You were trying to say the third kind, but there wasn't one.
There wasn't one. And people would submit the stories to Slashdot. So you would suggest, hey, Slashdot, why don't you put this on your site? And then pretty much every article in the entire known universe was always submitted. And then people at Slashdot, employees of Slashdot, would decide, this news story will go on Slashdot, this one will not. And you couldn't see which stories were approved or not approved. All you saw was which stories made it and which stories you submitted. That's all you knew. And it worked pretty well. Slashdot was the biggest thing since sliced bread for years and years and years.
Back then, it always had the news long before anyone else did. You didn't have to go digging for it. It was just there. Usually the commentary was somewhat insightful. And the crowds, the mobs, the people posting and commenting on Slashdot were by and large pretty intelligent. There's a lot of good humor there, a lot of sense of community, and the moderation system, we'll get to that.
Yeah. But people on Slashdot, they always said, hey, we don't like how these people at Slashdot decide which goes on the site and which doesn't. We want to decide which news goes on the site and which doesn't.
Yep, there's always the troubles with, like, they'd complain about Roland Peak Paley or...
Yeah, because, like, every day there would be another story from Roland Peak Paley's blog. And you'd be like, why the fuck is that guy's blog always on Slashdot? This is bullshit.
Or people complain about dupes. They'd complain about...
Yep, they'd be like, hey, why is that story there? That was already there. It shouldn't be there again. These editors fucked up. We're smart enough. We know that's a dupe. Why are you putting it up?
Or editors over-editorializing.
Yeah.
All sorts of stuff like that.
So, for years and years and years, people always had the idea that there should be some sort of Slashdot with a voting system of what stories go to the front page. And for some reason... no one was ever actually smart enough to make it, including me. I could have done it. I just didn't. I was too dumb. I didn't do it. It could have been me.
Yeah, you know what?
It would be Scott Rubin and not Kevin Rose.
I think part of the reason I never thought about it at all was I didn't really care since I had FARC, which, while it's definitely dictatorship like Slashdot, at the same time, everything funny was always there, so I didn't care.
But I mean, it was so obvious. It's something everyone wanted and no one did until Digg. And I'm sure Digg wasn't the first one,
Well, there was Corrosion.
Corrosion was about fiction though, and about articles written by people, and not about news.
Corrosion was a lot about nonfiction and commentary, though.
Yeah,
too.
Editorials and things. You would write a story basically or an essay and put it on Corrosion, and then people would vote it to the top.
Yeah,
you couldn't link to some news like, "Hey, vote this news article over there to the top." That didn't work. That wasn't what the site was about.
Yeah. Though on a more personal note, I can say that I have interacted with the Corrosion community a few times in the last few months. mostly to get free copy editing on things I write.
Uh-huh.
I just make an account and submit something and get... Those are some generally intense and scary people.
Yep.
Anyway.
So eventually, some sites came out that were semi-democratic, and different from Slashdot. I mean, Delicious was a site where you would bookmark. All you used it was to supplement your, normal bookmarks. And they had a page that was the popular page, and it would show
All right,
you.
I don't think we need to talk about any more history.
Yeah.
Digg is the opposite of Slashdot. It's democratic. Instead of a select few choosing what the masses see based on submissions from the masses, you have the masses choosing how popular something is by each giving it a little nudge up or a nudge down. And that's it. And as a result, now that we've had some time and these two sites are both firmly established still, Slashdot is moving more and more toward news and commentary and editorializing and that sort of thing. And Digg is moving more and more, not toward news, but toward being like a snapshot of the zeitgeist that is the internet. You go to Digg on any given day and look at what's at the top, and you pretty much know what the internet is talking about at that time, what's popular, what ideas are popular, what ideas are unpopular, what politicians are popular among the kinds of people who read Digg and Slashdot. You never got that on Slashdot. All you got was, here's the news, and as a result, people only talked about the news.
Yep. I mean, Slashdot, used to be the place to go to find out things. Now, if it's on Slashdot, I know it already. Pretty much 100% of the time, I've already heard that news somewhere else. Slashdot has no news to offer. Digg, on the other hand, by looking at all the headlines, and you can figure out what people who use Digg in the general geek internet community are thinking, and what they agree with and what they disagree with, and what they think is important, what they don't think is important. But you might also get a link to the news itself, but you're not going to get anything else besides that. The comments are basically just bleh. Well, in Slashdot, the comments are still somewhat usable.
You know what? I'll say openly that the comments on Fark are more usable than Digg.
Whoa, insult.
Yeah, I gotta insult because I gotta get this out. On Slashdot, for a long time, I was an Uber moderator, which I didn't know that existed until we asked them at PenguinCon, because I had mod points continuously for like 4 months, like nonstop. So we met the Slashdot guys, and I was like, is your thing broken? How come I have infinite mod points? And they're like, oh, well, you're one of the blah, and they explained it. So I had the power to moderate Slashdot as much as I could, and I realized that the amount of moderation you can do on Slashdot, even if you have effectively infinite power, is very minor. Because you can't do anything with the story. You can only edit what people have commented on. You can't change a story. So you can't pick what's popular on Slashdot. You can only decide what people were writing better in the comments. But even then, you can only nudge things up a little tiny bit or nudge them down a little tiny bit, and it just didn't feel like it had any effect. And I felt like it just wasn't worth it to bother. The time it took to moderate, I could have just gone somewhere else and done something better or more important. Digg, everyone can moderate.
Infinitely.
Everyone on Digg already has more power than I had on Slashdot ever. We can still only nudge anything up or down a little bit, but you could nudge every single thing up if you wanted, or every single thing down. As a result, you start to see what ideas are popular and what ideas are not popular in a way that could never happen on Slashdot. On Slashdot, you only saw what ideas had piqued the interest of a moderator, because not everyone could moderate. So, in fact, we used to play a game, Scott and I, where it was who can have the longest uninterrupted streak of +5 comments, the max you can get on Slashdot. And we realized that there was a specific formula where you could say, this is going to be a +5 post if I post it within the next 2 minutes.
Yep, you just had to post it early enough, so if the story goes up, you have to post your comment right away, because that's when people are going to see it. You gotta post something that, either agrees with what everyone is thinking and brings up, the major points, or you gotta say something that's, like a new talking point that wasn't mentioned yet in the comments, or something like that. And pretty much every time it would go all the way to +5.
Yeah, I filled my entire history once.
And
as a result,
was a good time.
Yeah, but then Slashdot, while the comments that filtered to the top were always very good, they weren't really representative of what people thought. They were just representative of the, I guess, generally most learned commenting on the story at hand, which is useful. But Digg, you can see very clear, like, for example, atheism is big on Digg. Religion, not so much.
So are conspiracy theories.
Yes. It's definitely not. You're starting to see that the internet, the types of things that are popular and the types of people that are on the internet, while very diverse, have certain leanings, and we never could really see this as clearly as we can now with Digg.
Yeah, I think Digg is very useful for that, but on the other hand, sometimes you just get fed up with it because I want a site. I want to be able to have, just a list of all the newses I care about with no newses I don't care about, and Slashdot used to provide some of the news I cared about, almost no news I didn't care about as soon as I filtered out John Katz, and there was news I cared about they weren't putting up there, mostly the non-tech news. Digg has a lot of the news I care about, in fact, almost all of it. But it also has a bunch of bullshit news that I want to get rid of very badly, and it's very difficult to get rid of it.
Like, for example, I care a lot about political news in the United States, and I pay attention to that quite a bit. On Digg, the only political news that ever gets dug up is, it's not like it leans a little to the left or the right. It's pretty much nothing but, oh my god, this super obscure underdog candidate is to awesome because of my blog post says so. They'd just be like links to crap blog posts and some bad grammar, Ron Paul is awesome, dig this, and a bunch of people would dig it.
Yeah, or there's people who made a website that was linked to the Digg API, so it would check to see how many digs it has, and based on how many digs it has, it would show more dots in a picture, and so if enough people dug the story, you could see the whole picture. Yeah, that's really useful news. I need that link in my RSS reader.
See,
I would have died without that one.
I don't mind seeing news that I don't actively care about. I like to get just a picture of the world. That's why I generally just read Google News for my world news.
Yeah, that's the thing, though, is that there is news I care about that is not world news. So it's not in Google News. Like news about, computers and video games and all these sorts of things.
You know what? I go to multiple sites.
I do. I RSS many, many sites.
See, I don't RSS.
But the thing is that when you RSS something like, say, Engadget, right? Engadget reports on gadgets, and they're pretty good. They're all really smart. Everything they say is pretty respectful and intelligent and complete, pretty much. But there are a lot of things they don't cover. And if I don't care about everything on Engadget. I only care about some of the things on Engadget. And in order to get all the gadget news I cared about, I would need like 15 gadget blogs and then a filter on each one to only get the bit of news on each blog that I want. And
that is why I don't use RSS. It's useless if I want to get all my news because all the sites I go to have some unique news and then they dupe everything else.
Yep.
But much more dear to me is simply the comments. Because usually a tech article is either crap or long or boring or doesn't have all the information or is biased or whatever. And that's the reason I prefer to get all my tech news still from Slashdot. If I go to Slashdot, I'm guaranteed that if I read the article and then I go to the comments, if there was something wrong in the article or someone miscited something...
The top comment will say, this is wrong. Every time.
The comments in Slashdot will give me the whole story almost every single time. And I don't need to do the research because it's there, and I found over the years that I can generally trust most of the research I find on Slashdot.
We should have some sort of system where, instead of commenting, right, people will actually write the text that should go up there as the description, and then people moderate to see which description should be the one that replaces it. That way, you'll get the whole story without having to read a second thing. That would be cool.
Now, Digg, on the other hand, I learned that the only way to read Digg comments is to immediately block, basically ban from you ever seeing again, anyone who is stupid immediately. And I used to think that Digg was this chaotic sea of gibbering idiots. And one day I decided that anytime I see someone who writes with poor grammar and spelling, writes a crap post, like LOL, FTW, OMG, or something crap like that, or just writes an unpunctuated, no capital letters, garbage sentence.
Or writes something stupid.
Or anyone who believed in the autism vaccine link, or anyone who was religious and espoused it on Digg. Now, I say and there. They had to do both, or I didn't care. Or, in general, just said anything stupid. Now, not something I disagreed with, just something stupid. If someone said something interesting about religion, or posted something interesting arguing for or against autism vaccines, whatever, cool. But if what they said was stupid, regardless of whether or not I agreed with them in principle, I blocked them. My block list is hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people. I block 5 or 6 people every single time I go to Digg. And I realized when I first did this, I went into an article about autism and vaccines, and I blocked everyone who was stupid. And I noticed that I started seeing a good percentage fewer posts when I went to any other discussion. And I realized that the majority of the crap on Digg is caused by a very small minority of the people on it.
Yeah, there are just a few people who got nothing better to do, and they're dumb, and they write a bunch of shitty comments all over Digg like crazy. And if you just block those people, all the comment sections start to clear up pretty nicely.
And
it's not perfect, but it's not bad.
It appears that if enough people block a person, the person will end up being banned or something in some sort of algorithm that seems to be semi-hidden, but people have referenced it before. I implore all of you, if someone is stupid on Digg, block them. Together, we can end this.
Yep. Now, the way I see it is that, Slashdot isn't perfect, and Digg isn't perfect. They're really still, even after getting what we wanted after all those years of Slashdot, we wanted Digg, we asked for it, we got it. We still don't have exactly what we want. Nobody's really 100% happy.
Even better, people complain just as much. Slashdot, they always complain that the editors pick everything, and they still complain to a degree.
And now they complain the editors are, the people, the masses on Digg are too stupid, posted a bunch of crap.
Yep. I mean, if you go to Digg, so many people are just so fed up and they complain like, how come everything on Digg is pro-atheist? How come everything on Digg is left-leaning? And how come everything on Digg is sensationalist?
Yep.
And the answer is, because that's what the people on Digg believe.
I think, while Slashdot should stick around because we need something that does that.
Oh, Slashdot is still the best site of all of them, as far as I'm concerned.
Digg, we need Digg to stick around in its pure democracy form so that we can see what people on the internet are feeling. We can get the vibe of the mass, right? I propose we need a third thing.
A third way?
A third way.
Not the straightaways, not the corners, but the third place?
The third place. You
so
see,
the tires. Slashdot
out of
needs
this
tires.
whole thing, there is one part that has no problems, and that is the Slashdot comment system. The reason the Slashdot comment system works is because it is democratic in a way. Not purely democratic, but democratic. There is voting by the people using it as to what should go up and what should go down. But not everyone gets to vote. Only the representatives get to vote. That's a really good idea, filtering out stupidity by having a representative democracy. I don't know. Has anyone ever thought of that crazy idea before?
I don't think so.
Maybe some people that might have started a country that's been around for like 200 years and isn't going away anytime soon.
There's nothing like that.
No?
No.
No, okay, well, since there's nothing like that, no one can sue us for patent infringement if we make a website that uses a representative form of democracy to determine what should go up and what should go down. I guess people would only be able to vote on other people, and then people who have a lot of votes from other people would then actually get to vote on stories and comments and those sorts of things.
However, I mean, it'd be very difficult to pull that off.
It would be difficult to pull it off.
Much like
from
Digg
a
and
user
Slashdot have to deal with
perspective.
the problems of people gaming the system to get more influence and things like that.
Yep. There are quite many more questions to answer before something like that is feasible, possible, and not broken. But I think that is the way to go in the long run. Is some sort of maybe, Netscape tried it where they just paid people to be the influencers. That doesn't work. You can't pay people. It has to be people doing it because they want to, because those are the only people who are going to do it. Because if you're paid to do it, you don't really care how it turns out. Only the people using it care how it turns out.
Yep.
Sort of like Wikipedia.
My worry, though, I mean, Slashdot does have that in the, not really, it's representative, but it's not a democracy, in that moderators are chosen, and then those moderators have power for a time.
Yes, but those moderators are chosen by an algorithm, not by a human.
Oh, yeah, but the point is that people who moderate Slashdot get sick of it and then don't bother anymore.
That is true.
Anytime you rely on people to do something like that, where they have to make an effort, as opposed to Digg, where it takes zero effort, people eventually get sick of it and just stop doing it. And you have to always keep bringing in the fresh blood.
Well, this all comes into exactly how are you going to implement this. For example, I could implement a system that looks just like Digg, where everyone puts in the small effort of digging stories, right? But what it does is instead of every dig is one vote, what it could do is it could say, all right, who submitted that story? And it got a lot of digs. That must be a person that people like. And then the people who submit stories that people like, their digs will actually matter in terms of putting things on the front page, whereas other people won't matter really.
Well, the problem with that is that most people, I think, who post things on Digg or things that get dug up, basically do nothing all day but sit there and try to find the stories that'll get them dug up.
That's fine.
But as a result, they cater toward the sensationalist crap audience instead of, I don't know, me.
They do, but I think having some sort of, system like this or something, I'm not going to come up with the perfect answer here on the show. Forget about
Well,
it.
you'd better. Otherwise, you're crap. Your idea's crap. You're a bad person.
Yeah, my idea is crap. It's only kept us going for how long, and
Yeah.
It's only the form of government used in most of the civilized world.
But Scott, we pay our representatives.
That's true.
Yes.
But we only pay them
In
after
fact-
we decide who we're going to pay.
Except that we don't really decide because the incumbency rate is in the 90% around here.
I know, but
Most people don't decide. No one cares.
On paper, we
Besides,
decide.
do you want, you see how the American government works. Do you want a site to end up as corrupt as that?
Yeah. I think there are ways we could do about it, like maybe keep who the representatives are secret, stuff like that.
The way you go about it is you have Digg, but behind the scenes, you just completely rig the system secretly.
That'd be all right, but but if you just rig the system, you basically just made Slashdot that looks like Digg.
Yes, but then people don't complain as much. Because they think they have control, but they don't.
No, I want to have, a representative system where you have people voting democratically to choose what goes there, so that way you get a large quantity of content filtered down to just have the meat and potatoes. But at the same time, you're filtering out all the stupidity, so even if something is incredibly popular, but it's stupid as all hell, it doesn't get up there.
You know what Digg needs, very simply? Right now, I can block a person and not see their comments. If I block someone, I shouldn't see their submitted digs, no matter how dug up they get either.
Maybe it works that way. I don't
No,
know.
I don't think it does.
Well, it should if it doesn't.
Because I see the same dug stories as everyone else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you can filter out categories, which is huge, because I don't want to see that stupid medicine and health category.
See, I do.
It's full of bullshit all the time.
I bury everything, and then I go in and block everyone who posts.
Yeah, but that's not. I can't click that many times.
I'd
rather just not look at the bullshit.
I stomp around Digg with a sword, just cleaving people left and right.
I don't have time. I just want the fucking news. I just want the fucking news.
This has been Geeknights with Rim and Scott. Special thanks to DJ Pretzel for the opening music.
Be sure to visit our website at www.frontrowcrew.com, where you'll find show notes, links, our awesome forum, a link to our Frapper map, and links to all the RSS feeds.
We say feeds plural because Geeknights airs 4 nights a week, covering 4 different brands of geekery. Mondays are science and technology. Tuesdays, we have video games, board games, and RPGs. Wednesdays are anime, manga, comic nights. And Thursdays are the catch-alls for various rants and tomfoolery.
You can send us feedback by email to geeknights@frontrowcrew.com. Or you can send audio feedback via Odeo. Just click the link that says Send Me an Audio on the right side of our website.
If you like what you hear, you can catch the last 100 episodes in iTunes or in your favorite podcatcher. For the complete archives, visit the website, which has everything.
Geeknights is distributed under a Creative Commons Attribution Non-Commercial Share-alike 2.5 license. This means you can do whatever you want with it as long as you give us credit, don't make money, and share it in kind. Geeknights is recorded live with no studio and no audience. But unlike those other late shows, it's actually recorded at night.